In our previous Find Out in 5, after thinking about the difference between emotions and feelings, we looked at how we can suffer when we try to control them. It's important to be clear that this tendency towards control is natural. Our minds want to stop or avoid painful things. There's also just too much information coming through our senses for us to pay attention to it all, so our minds automatically put things into categories. When it comes to feelings, this leads us to categories of good or positive, want more of these, or bad or negative and want to avoid those. Either way, the tendency is to try to control them, and this can lead to more struggle. I'm often asked in my work whether I can't just stop some of these difficult feelings from showing up altogether. Why wouldn't we, if we could? But the answer is that they're important, and so in this Find Out in 5, we're going to look a little more closely at common emotions to get to know them a bit better. It's still okay to find them difficult, liking them may be way too much of a stretch, and at the same time it might help in letting them have their place. We're going to look in particular at fear, anger, sadness and disgust. So as always, engage with this as little or as much as you're comfortable with over the next 5 minutes or so. How many different emotions are there? This has been debated for thousands of years. Aristotle, the Greek philosopher back in the 4th century BC, thought that there were 14. Now researchers have estimated that there are between 5 and 27 distinct human emotions. The core emotions are often thought to be fear, anger, sadness, disgust, happiness and surprise. Each one that we feel can tell us important information about what's going on for us inside. They're like messengers. Sometimes the message is clear, other times we might feel a bit like a detective looking for clues as to why an emotion has shown up. Emotions that are difficult and that we automatically categorise as bad or negative are often triggered by our brain's self-protection response. They're messages to say, I think there's a threat, do something, and they've helped us to survive as a species over the course of human history. For example, fears evolved to give us a rapid response to potential threats. When our brain detects a threat, it triggers our fear response, often called fight or flight. This powers us up, getting us ready to act and to keep us safe. You can find out more about this response in our fight-flight recording. Anger is often misunderstood. It can be muddled up with aggression, though they're very different. Anger is an emotion that's evolved as a signal that an important personal boundary has been crossed, or when we realise that something unfair is happening to ourselves or other people. This signal is important because it can lead us to take appropriate steps that stop other people from taking advantage of us, or to protect the safety of a wider group. And this helps towards cooperation and fairness. Aggression is very different. It's not an emotion, but a behaviour that can cause harm. What can happen if we muddle these up is that we confuse the valid emotion of anger with the harmful expression of aggression. This can lead us to ignore anger and the signals that something important has happened. Sadness can arise in response to experience of loss or disappointment, and like all emotions, it has an important function. Sadness helps us to process and adapt to challenging situations. It helps us self-reflect, problem solve, and grow personally. This can help us to think about whether we need to make changes to our behaviour to avoid loss or disappointment in the future. Disgust helps us to avoid things that could harm us and is a good example of why we can't just switch these emotions off. I just need to think about the next time I ferret something out old from the back of my fridge. What would stop me from eating it and potentially harming myself if the feeling of disgust didn't exist? In addition to signals to keep us safe, these emotions can also give us clues about what's important to us. Have you ever been really looking forward to something, maybe meeting a friend that you've not met in a while, and they've had to cancel last minute? You might notice yourself feeling sad or disappointed. This might help tell you that you really value spending time with that particular person. So emotions help us to navigate the complexities of human life, and at the same time are by their nature sometimes uncomfortable and difficult to have. We've seen that our minds are much too smart to let us switch them off. But what other strategies have you tried to manage the difficult ones? One might be to squash them down and to try not to feel them. The difficulty there is that it's a bit like pushing a beach ball down in water. It takes a lot of effort, and as soon as we stop, it springs right back up again. Another might be to think about our feelings and try to solve or avoid them. As we saw in our emotions and feelings recording, the more we engage with them like this, the more we imagine other situations and make judgments, the longer we can struggle. And whilst we're doing that, we're not paying attention to other things. So it's a bit like focusing a torch beam on one thing, just a difficult feeling, and not being able to see anything else that's happening in life. Does any of this sound familiar? They're all natural ways for our minds to protect us from these difficult feelings. And I'm wondering if they've worked for you. If you're familiar with this struggle and have noticed that it hasn't really helped, then the radio reps could offer you something different. They can help you to become more curious about your emotions and more accepting of them as your mind's way of trying to help you. To practice giving them some space, you could try the exercises in the emotions section of our website, for example, like taking your emotional temperature or showing yourself compassion. If what you're noticing are a stream of judgments and thoughts about emotions, then some of our reps in the thoughts section of our website could be a good fit, like leaves on a stream or noticing and naming thoughts. These could suit you. If what you're noticing is a lot of tension in your body, then some of our reps in the body and breath section could suit you. Or you could try several out and see which are the best fit for you. Remember that they're called reps because our mind learns best when we do things over again. We hope that you found this helpful. If you're curious to know more, you'll find this recording and all of our self-help resources on our website. Please visit yorkhospitals.nhs.uk and look for psychological medicine or search for radio reps. Also, if you've been affected by high levels of sadness, fear or by aggression, our website has links to some local support services, or you can find a comprehensive list at www.healthwatchyork.co.uk.